Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to welcome Niraj Rai. Niraj is the founder of Sprouts AI, very good friend of mine, and he has a stellar background. And having worked at Yahoo and very complex set of things, he has led startups and scale ups as well in the past. We are going to talk about engineering culture and software quality as part of this podcast. So, welcome, Niraj. Very excited to have you.
Thanks, Shrikant. Great to be here, and thanks for kind introduction. I'm looking forward to this conversation with you because engineering culture is one of the core and very close to my heart. So always very interested in not only sharing what we do as a company, but also learning from others. Thanks for this
Fantastic.
opportunity.
Hey, so I'm sure this is going to be a very exciting conversation. So I have a list of questions, and we are going to, just get your perspective in terms of what you think engineering leaders within, medium to large size companies as well as startups. So you have been on the journey of building Sprouts AI. Would love to learn more. What inspired you to start Sprouts AI and focus on this agentic AI?
Yeah, so the journey has been very interesting and fascinating for me for last 3.5 years. I am more a startup guy, even though I have worked in many large organizations, but I'm happiest in startups. At Intel, we were building a self-driving car with many other companies partnering with BMW and some other big auto manufacturers. And I was very fascinated with all these autonomous systems who were like running in the physical world and going and doing some of those things. And then from Intel, I went to lead engineering for a couple of other high flying startups here in Silicon Valley. One was Biman Robotics, where we will build autonomous drone system to go and do the warehouse automation. And then another was Grayscale. There will build quality control using AI, so fully automated quality control over there. Now, going through all this physical world and so many things happening, it was very evident to me that the autonomous systems for the software world where things start becoming more and more autonomous, they will be very common, and just it was just a matter of time when it becomes very common. And while I was building the team at many of these organizations, felt how manual was the process when it came to going and doing the recruiting, and many times we would struggle to get the right team in place for months. Some of the hires it will take 6 months. So it was more like, look, has more very far ahead compared to what is out there when it comes to the building the team, building the organization, the recruitment and hiring. And that is the moment when I was like, let's go and solve this problem. And this is all based on my own experience itself. That look, something definitely things can be better. Tools who are out there, they're very dated. Even things like, let's say, LinkedIn, they are more a tool to lead generation, and the other recruitment tools like ATS systems and other, they are more a very legacy kind of system. They don't really get the job done for you, they make you do more work. And that was for me the motivation to go and solve this problem.
So essentially, what you were doing at autonomous cars, you want to bring that for recruiting.
That was exactly my pitch deck to investors. We are building autonomous driving for recruiting. But those days, autonomous driving company, they were not doing very well. They were like, look, I don't want to connect you to something which is sinking money. Yes, that's the vision, and that's exactly what we are building. We are building the multi-agent system where all of these systems can go and do the recruiting for you, and they will do better than what we are capable as a human, because we have our own limitation what we can do.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, this podcast is about engineering culture, right? So, and you are building a startup that is helping other companies hire great engineering talent because, you can see right now the war for talent in Silicon Valley is crazy with people getting offered, billion-dollar packages and teams getting recruited from one versus other. We hear about we read about all of this, right? Windsurf acquisition and, subsequently what happened with cognition, etc. Tell us a little bit more, what's the engineering culture at Sprouts AI, and how are you, there are things like values, etc., that I'm sure every founder talks about. From your perspective, when it comes to engineering culture and how do you recruit people or how you built your initial founding engineering team, what did you do? What's the culture like?
Yeah. So engineering culture is extremely, extremely important when you are thinking about building a tech product. Engineer needs to be, where they are empowered to go and solve the hard problems, especially the area where we are building, like building the fully autonomous agents who are capable of going and really doing things better than any human being can do. How do you make that happen, right? And these are the problems you cannot solve in short time. Like solving hard problems takes time. And also some of these problems, let's say we solve, this is something not like everybody can solve it. It is not about putting the throwing body on the problem. It's a lot more like you need to have a right person. So when it comes to for us as a company, going and discussing that how we want to go, what kind of culture we want to do. For us, it's a lot about ownership, yeah, empowerment, making sure that engineers are empowered, they have the full ownership, they understand the big picture very well. That what exactly, even when, like, let's say every product journey, when you always break down the bigger problem into a smaller chunks. But then it's very important to understand that, okay, what exactly we are solving, what problem we are solving, and then every small step that we are taking, it is towards the your bigger problem that you are solving. You don't want to do is like, no, you solve something which is very tangential to what exactly, and then next iteration you are redoing things. So that's what it is. Another part of the whole engineering system at company is the quality of the work that they do. I want to make sure that we hire people who take self pride in their work and their craft, so that when they're doing, like, they themselves have set very high standard, like, okay, no, this is what I'm looking for, I'm not going to go and compromise on my quality of the work. So those are the things we keep talking, keep iterating every week when we do the retrospective, and we are going through this, how things went, where we did well, where we did not do well, where things break, why did break. All of those discussions, like having this back and forth conversation, we want to make sure that there is full transparency over there in some of those dialogues and conversation as well. But that's what our engineering culture drives around: ownership, the transparency, the focus on quality, the empowerment.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit more. How big is your engineering team? What kind of technologies people are working on, and why did you choose a certain? Like, I think you talked about how you recruited the set of folks, but recruiting for a very early stage company has its own set of challenges, right? So, what are some of those, and how did you overcome? I know I asked you a lot of questions. Maybe we can break it into smaller parts.
Yeah. So because we are building the whole AI agents and fully autonomous system, so our core technology is still the stack which is needed to build the Gen AI products. So LLMs and the RAG and the vector database and the knowledge graph. So graph database, all of these things are there. These are the core. They are our core infrastructure, along with, let's say, the standard stack that is needed to build any of these products. Let's say the object store, the key value store. Then we have the index store. All of these things are there. Yeah. At the same time, some of the things because the experience that we build on these AI agents and agentic system, it's different from, let's say, the previous generation of products as products. Here, the interface is a lot more engaging, the conversational, through not just the text box that is there. You have chatbot, voice system, as well as the UI, depending on what the customers are used to. So this is the tech stack we have. We build all of these products on one of the public cloud. That is where we have deployed most of the products. Again, the tech stack is, when we go and select the tech stack, it's always based on multiple things. Like as a startup, one of the important thing that you are always thinking about is a speed of execution, right? Without compromising the quality, without having this. Let's say take baggage and scalability, all of those things you are always thinking when you are going and thinking about this whole thing. So that's exactly what has driven our tech stack, that the speed of execution, especially in the gen AI, some of these agentic world, model quality also matters a lot. At the same time, you want to make sure that you have the flexibility, how you go upon that. So that's what it is for us.
Got it. And then, tell us a little bit more about your engineering team. Where
Yeah.
is
So
everybody here based in the valley? How have you recruited and built this initial team?
so we are roughly 35 people. So we are still in the build phase. So 70% of the company is still engineers and the product managers, people who are actually building the product. We are remote first company. So we are distributed. We have team here in North America. We have team in India. We have team in Philippines, in the Latin. We are distributed across the globe. We, as you said, startup hiring is very different from the big company hiring. And the team that goes and succeeds in a startup is the culture, the mindset is very different. In bigger companies, like let's say if you are working for large companies like Amazon and Google, those companies, you need somebody who is very deep into one area, and they have to go and deal with like massive scale over there. For us, we need the depth as well as the horizontal understanding, where somebody who is capable of going and building the full stack product as well while it's doing, and the whole mindset about moving fast, breaking things, some of these things, as a startup, you have to go and iterate quickly, go and ship the product, iterate, and keep making progress. So that's how we have been mostly focused on. At the same time, because it's a remote team, we want to make sure that people are able to work autonomously without much handholding, because they don't really have much support. Yes, we have the daily stand up, the design meeting, all of those things, but at the same time, there is nobody sitting in the room going and sitting next to them and debugging the code, helping them, all of those things. So definitely, the mindset is very different in a startup than, let's say, big companies. And for us, for recruiting, so we use our own tools to do bulk of our hiring. So we do the dog feeding ourselves. But uh, in the early days, when I was just getting started, a lot of hiring happened through like people I already know, have worked in the past. I onboarded those people.
Yeah. Yeah. How has the engineering culture changed? Like you have grown from, I guess, one or two people to 35 team, and you said about 22 people are engineers in that, right? 70% of 35 is what you said.
No,
So,
35 are engineers. The team is 50.
okay, got it. So how has it changed, from one, two people when you started to now 35 people?
Yeah, so at the beginning, when we got started, in most of the meeting, will be going, and everybody will be there. They are constantly brainstorming, thinking. Because I was the only one running the whole team, and then I had a lot of other things to do. As a founder, you can only do so much. but they still wanted to keep everybody fully aligned with what they're doing. So I took a different approach over there, in the sense every day when people engineers start their day, I'll just quickly let them know, why don't you post it in our Google space, we are on GChat, that okay, this is my Jira for today. So now as an engineer also, you are fully aligned that this is what you will be working on today, and everybody in the team can see that who is working on what. And it's the same for me as well, that I can exactly see who is working on what. So basically there was no alignment at all. At the end of the day, they'll just post that whether they could get it done, what exactly that any issue there's. So that helped a lot, especially when you are in remote team, you are going and working collaboratively over there. But then where as and when team grew, some of these meetings started becoming much longer and longer, and then it started becoming challenging. So in that case, what we do today is we divide our team into different pods. So pods who are, let's say, focusing on the infrastructure, pods who are focusing on, let's say, the some specific, like as part of the recruiting automation, there are 6 or 7 core components over there. Like let's say one is like the whole data portion, then the going sourcing and scoring matching part, then building AI for the whole outreach part, for scheduling part, assessment. So we have created these pods. These are the pods who go and do the daily stand up, which are being run by the scrum master or the project manager. And then the product owners are there as part of that, so that they are also aligned. And then we do the weekly review over there as part of that. And that is where, let's say, for me as a engineering leader, I get to see what is going on. So one is like weekly review meeting, where seeing what is going on, as well as the weekly planning meeting with the leads, that okay, this is what is coming next week. And we have created our own set of checklists, like before we start the work, whether it's like do we have the well written epic, do we have the well written uh, you know user story, do we have the test planning done, do we have all the test cases there, do we does this work require a design document? If yes, do we have those things done? If it is even before that, let's say when we are going and coming up with requirement, is there customer validation done, where like whoever customer is asking for any of the requirement, like where from it is coming, how exactly they want it, how they will be using, all of those things are done before bringing this into Jira and Epic. And then once it is release time, that is when we make sure that, oh, do we have the test report done, and the business owners, they have signed up for that, did we do the peer review, how did we do the performance, depending on what exactly is the issue. So all of those things also we go and verify. So this is one, like during the product development itself, making sure that we have the well defined processes and the quality control. At the same time, we want to make sure that none of those things comes into the speed of execution. So how do we make sure that we only do the things which are must for the quality control, and we don't do anything for sake of doing it, for the process things or for documentation and any of that. Instead, that we want to make sure that everything that is happening, that has direct impact on the customer experience, what product they get, whether this is going to solve their problem or not. All of those things we are always keeping in mind. And then once the product is deployed, customers are using it, then if there is any we put together the observability in a place where we are continuously watching, monitoring what is going on, how the customers are using. But then if we get issue reported from customers, we want to go and also review the process, like where did we go wrong. So we make sure that some of the things as part of the engineering culture. Also, we want to make sure that all the engineers, as part of making sure that we support and we empower them, everything that we want to do, retrospective and all, for the learning purpose, not for with not with that. Oh no, we want to go and punish somebody. That's not. In a startup, you have people with all kind of experience. You have like people with 10 years, 15 years experience, but you also have a lot of people who for who Sprouts is their first job in their career. So they are still learning, growing, and figuring out. So we want to make sure that together as a team, we own whether it's a success or a failure or learning and everything. So we take it through the retrospective process, understand, and then if let's say any process needs to be fixed as part of that, we go and fix that. But that's our learning process. It's always continuously learning. That's the only way we can build great product. No one company process can be replicated to another in exactly the same way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So coming to that point, right? Like, there's this saying which is very famous in Silicon Valley. Is build fast and break things. What's your perspective on that? What's your engineering culture on this? Do you believe in that? Have you fine tuned to your requirements or your use case or your set of customers?
So I would say I believe more in iterate fast. Build fast and ship buggy product doesn't make any sense, right? Because everybody has a bad experience, and now you don't want your customer to be your QA. You still want to own the quality, and minimum due diligence needs to be done. So that's how we want to do it. Another thing we want to do, and that's where we want to put observability in place, where like, can we create a scenario where like, if we have shipped a bad product, buggy product, is it possible that we know before customer know that there is issue over there in the system, and we notify the customer that, look, we know that there is a issue, we'll be releasing the patch over there, so that it's there. um, Definitely believe in a speed of execution, building fast. Unless there is a situation where unless you build and ship, you don't know whether it's a right product or wrong. But that is more for iteration rather than anything else. That what exactly is the right solution. So that's where this comes into play.
You were talking about software quality being really important for your customers. You don't want your customers to be your QA, right? So, how are you balancing releasing new features faster with good quality? There's always this trade off, right? Like feature velocity versus quality. And, how are you guys doing that?
Yeah. So as you know, we were some of the early adopter of your software, and it has helped a lot in automating lot of things that were needed manual testing. And so having this automation with tools like BaseRock, a lot more agile, agentic. They help a lot in making us feel good that hey, you know what, we are covered, and there is a testing being done. Other than that, let's say most of these softwares, when they are going and building and releasing that, they are always building that mind map and figuring out like what is the dependency, where exactly, and that's where as a team, especially QA team, your skills comes into play. That how exactly where to focus, making sure that it doesn't really go and break anything, having deeper understanding. So most of the people who are in the QA team or Sprouts, they are in the past they have been software engineer and they have written a lot of code, so they know how the system really works. That has been our approach. We do mostly weekly release. We don't have 100% automation where like we can go and s- you know ship products on the daily basis. Also there is risk and overhead of going and releasing every day. So as a company would love to be there at some point of time once we have put enough, let's say, CI/CD infrastructure, enough quality control, testing, validation, all these automation in place, we will be able to do it. But for us right now, it's a weekly release. That's how we want to balance out between effort of releasing something new and the speed.
Thanks. I'm glad to hear that BaseRock is helping you and address some of the quality issues. But moving on, right? So one other thing that like I have also seen in my previous company as well as jobs in the past, and what some of the things that we are doing, right? It's like you want to encourage engineers to experiment and play with something new, but at the same time, you want them to also deliver a good quality, right? Especially when you're focused on like enterprise customers who are not very forgiving, if things break. So, how are you kind of looking at and building this culture where you're encouraging experimentation without compromising quality? What's your secret?
Yes, so for us, the way we have the separate sandbox for experiment. So bulk of the thing that so we maintain uh, four or five different environment. One is the dev environment, then testing environment, then pre-prod, and then the production environment. So we maintain all of these things. Most of the experimentation it happens in the dev environment, and then once everything looks good, everybody is feeling good, and they are also like let's say whatever the experiment they are doing, they will create their own branch, and then on that branch they'll go and do it. Another thing is like, let's say we are all super excited about some of the cool things that we are building. People are always excited about that. What we do is we also have a bi-weekly demo, and part of the bi-weekly demo is everybody who is building any cool product, they are come, they showcase their cool creation, and people love doing that. In fact, another thing we do as a company is just to go and encourage some of these kind of things. We also have the monthly recognition program in the company. And as part of the monthly recognition program, we have like, hey, the innovator of the month, the quality person of the month, and the so we have four or five category where we continuously go and recognize people. We encourage them, and people participate, and we want to make sure that there is good competition for each of these sports. One Another one is like, the customer centric people, somebody who is going and jumping on customer call and solving some customer issues, some of those kind of things as well. So we run this, we encourage this a lot. And if somebody is coming and saying that, because this is one area where you have so much opportunity to go and bring new innovation, new creativity. This is like, ripe for people can go and create so much magic in this new AI agent, some of this era. So we are always looking for that, encouraging and letting people go and do it. But then once it is done, we have to go and put it to the production. Of course, we take it through the same process as any of the system that has to go in production. What we do is some of these things when we go and release it, we always try to find one or two alpha customer who would be willing to go and try some of these things, and before we go and do the much bigger deployments. But that's what our approach is, manage the risk, making sure, but at the same time open the door for the new innovation as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's very cool, actually, in terms of getting people to take some risk, experiment, and then slowly roll it out to customers. Can you give an example of what has happened most recently, which was really cool and innovative that worked through your engineering culture?
Yes. So one of the very cool thing that we have built is, what we try to do as part of a Sprouts is we also want to make sure that Sprouts is invisible to our customer so that they don't even know. It's more like AI system that's like ready to take the instruction and get the work done. So what we have done the integration with Slack, where as a hiring manager within the Slack channel itself, you can say, hey, Sprouts, I'm looking to hire a software engineer, this is what it is, can you help me find some people? And as part of that's all you do. And then behind the scene, Sprouts starts working, and then it will go and find people for you, and then it will go and start pushing those profiles in your Slack channel itself. Like, what do you think about this one? You there itself, you say yes, no, those kind of like thumbs up, thumbs down, those kind of things. And then when you go and do the thumbs up, now again, it knows that, okay, now I need to go and schedule meeting with this person. So it again goes behind the scene, does all this meeting scheduling, all those things, and pushes these meeting details on your calendar. So if you think about that, some of these kind of things, eventually the idea is with all these AI agents and everything is like, hey, there is a AI system sitting in the background, getting the work done for you while you are doing some more high priority things for your customers and for your organizations. Now, these are the things. This idea actually came from one of the engineer in the company. They said, hey, why don't we do this Slack integration that way? Because another thing, when you are going and building this kind of products like a Sprouts, is now until customers are fully onboarded, customers might not even remember you. And if you force them to come to a Sprouts, log in the system, go and do things, adoption will be very slow. But if you take this product to where they are, where they operate, then it becomes very frictionless for them to go and start using.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's classic distribution challenge, right? How fast do you get people to adopt your product? And that's a great idea where I can just go and talk to the Sprouts AI agent on Slack and start, it just goes in the background and does its magic for me if I want to hire, a product manager or something like that, right? Great, great. All right. Well, I think you covered a lots and lots of very interesting set of things for folks. In terms of how do you kind of balance um like where people have autonomy, but then they also have accountability, so that is there. But then there's one of the biggest challenges that people have, especially in fast growing startups. There's a lot of pressure, and how do you manage burnout in this kind of situation, or you're not have to deal with it in the last few years. But yeah, just curious whether it is in your current startup or in the previous startup, because there's, again, you got to balance these things to maintain a really good engineering culture.
Yes. So burnout is real, right? And I'm sure you have been reading about some of the essay-based startup, 996, those kind of things. We don't do it. Okay. And I don't think when you are going and solving some high quality problems which needs a lot of intellect, I don't think anybody will have energy to start their day at 9 a.m. and keep doing until 9 p.m. and 6 days in a week. This is just not humanly possible. It's just not possible, right? So we make sure that we have like good break. When you are working in this whole remote setup, it's also like 24/7. People are getting pinged. Customers are here. Some team are in different time zone. All of those kind of. So there are a lot of challenge over there. And that's where what we make sure that we are not trying to track people based on number of hours and these kind of things. We want to do really good job in our sprint planning, that what needs to be prioritized. Because also another problem with some of these things are like, no, you if you don't do very good job in prioritizing, you end up just building some of the things, your product becomes very bloated, and you go and overload your product with a lot of different features, and then you don't really have like great way of doing things, and there is a great way of going and achieving that goal, right? So all of those things, you can be very smart in going and prioritizing and making sure that people are going picking the right problem, they're solving the right way. Some of the things you have to understand is, look, the problem which is today, it's not like that problem is going to go away after 6 months, 9 months, 12. And if you are building great product, then this is something, it's not like after 3 months that product will not be needed, right? If you are solving this recruiting problem is going to be there today, it will be there after 6 months, after 2 year, after 10 year also. The way you do might change, the tech stack might change, but the problem statement would mostly remain the same. Like everybody would like to find great people for their team. This problem statement is not going to go away even after 10 years. That no, I'm looking to find a great person for my team who is great fit for the company, right? So it's important to take the long term view and then have that view understand to your team and your company also that this is what we are here for long term. You definitely don't want to encourage slacking. You want to make sure that you know the people, the company is built with the right set of people who are equally committed. They are doing the due diligence, they are making sure that they are taking responsibility, all of those. But these are the things, the way you do it, it has to become part of your culture itself. It should be just there. You don't have to kind of like highlight, you don't have to, this is something should become part of your DNA. And this is something, as a leader, as a the founder, you have to figure out and go and bring it, part of your daily life. It should just be integrated without much effort, any of those things as well. And every action, every activity that you are doing, basically people keep feeling that, look, yes, this is so obvious, I'm supposed to do it. They start internalizing those aspects of the culture by themselves.
Right, right, right. And in good point, yeah, right. So the question that comes to mind is, hey, you have hired a great team, you have built this culture, and let's say you get to the point of 8 to 10 people. Now you are growing, you're going to add another 5 people, and that's 50% growth in your headcount, right? And then you'll add another 5 people, another 5 people. Now, what are the things that you have done to ensure that the new set of people who join your company understand your culture, including everything around how to code, how to test, how to behave, how to take ownership? What are some of the things you have done to codify that?
Yeah. So first of all, like we, even though we are a small company, but we do have some onboarding process. Okay. Where we go and talk about the product. Like one of the important thing we do is as soon as somebody joins, is like create a account on the system and give them couple of days, just go and play with the product. Try it end to end and come back with some kind of report like where it is working, how it is working, what is your view, some of those kind of things, because so that they feel connected with the product, because whatever we are doing right now. Other than that, like that is something. Other than that, we also go and pair them for different things, like okay, who is their mentor who can give them you know on let's say the architecture or all of these technology full stack, some of those things. So one is like having them understand the full stack of the product irrespective of where they come, as well as we connect them with a peer. That is like okay, you will be doing the peer programming to for initial 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever is there. That person becomes go to person for that person. Okay. And whether they have some doubts, whether they want some review, any of those kind of things, and we make sure that that person is more or less same experience level, so those kind of things. But then the other person have been in the company for quite some time, like 6 months, 9 months, year. The person understands how we do, so that help is there. And then let that person at the same time bring their own independent perspective as well. Like I always encourage that if you want to bring one or two great things from previous experience, previous company, that you feel that those things were working very well in your last company or last organization, is there opportunity for us to go and adopt some of those best practices and improve as a company and organization? This is kind of like again, here also is the same thing. You are continuously open, continuously encouraging, experimenting what might work, what might not work. Some of the things I'm very particular about, and this is one thing I don't tolerate in the company. And, we all, as a company, we all agree. We make sure that there is no negativity in the company. Okay, we make sure there is no negativity. If for some reason we come across where somebody is feeling, some down or this thing, I go and talk to that person and try to understand what is going on, like, why that person is feeling like that, any other, so that, we can address some of these concerns. But then once it becomes where, like, look, this is creating the bad culture in the company, it becomes toxic, then in that case, we want to take care of those toxicity quickly rather than let it, be in the company. Okay. So those negativity things, some of those things we are extremely particular about that, no matter what, absolutely no negativity in the company.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah, related to that, right? So we talked about onboarding new folks. Um, what about just, like, have you had instances where you hired somebody who you thought through the process that, hey, they're a good fit for the organization, but then you realize they are not and you have to let go of them? Or, the follow-on question to that is like, how do you hire people who will fit with your organization culture?
Yeah. So, hiring is, as much data driven, as much like your instinct, right? And it doesn't matter how much due diligence you do. Chances of making mistake is, is still very high. Okay. And when it becomes where you have made a wrong decision, that means something has not gone as you expected, then you should be the first one to accept very quickly that, look, I've made a mistake. Okay. And you should be correcting it as soon as you can. Okay. So that is something we have done, couple of times where we realize that, no, we have made a mistake. Somebody looks stellar on going through this interview process, but when we are going and looking into who to hire, it also sometimes very important to pay close attention on what that person has done in the past, because these are some of the things people cannot hide. Like, let's say if somebody has joined BaseRock 3 years back, and then every year that person has been growing from software engineer to senior software engineer to lead to one of these. Now that cannot be fake, right? This means person actually went and build a, help a startup grow, and with a startup that person grew. So while I'm evaluating during the interview process, and there most of the time, other than the technical skills, we are also continuously evaluating the soft skills of the person, more like, okay, whether this person fits in the culture of the company in terms of the ownership, agility and the velocity, all of those things we are going and figuring out. I'm paying very close attention on what that person has done before.
Got
Okay.
it. Got
That
it.
gives great signal. And beyond that, you definitely don't want to skip reference check. Talk to people. See, many times reference check, people say, look, this person is friend, so is going to say good things. In fact, many times that's not the case. But even when somebody is friend, they are going to say great things. But still, like, you want to say how, what is the tone of that person, how strongly that person is. You can see and feel. That is it, like, no, I'll bet my life on this person. Or is it like, oh, no, no, that person is good. That person gets the job done, whatever it is. You can make out from that conversation and tone that what exactly the endorsement of that person is.
Understood. Understood. So reference checks, leverage all the pieces of information that you can see, look at the history, and I guess the most important, don't skip reference checks, right? So I can tell you when I have skipped reference checks, it has come to bite me in the past when I have hired people. So completely agree with you on that. Um, hey, so I know we are coming to the end of the time here. What are some of the things you're excited about at the Sprouts AI? What are some of the new things that you're looking at to essentially scale up from a 50 people company to, maybe 200, 300 people company? What's it like?
Yeah. So we are just getting started. The whole AI agent journey is just getting started. We all know we are still just going and figuring out how to make this whole autonomous systems not only work, but then they start performing better than humans, right? And then, at a scale that is unseen before, where you have millions of these agents going and doing the work, getting the work done, all of those kind of things. So from the tech perspective, that is what the most exciting when we are going and thinking about this whole thing. Like, hey, you know what? How do we make sure that these AI systems, not only do the tedious task automation, but even bring the new capability to the companies and organization. They can enable these organizations to go and do things that were not possible before. And that, being part of this whole journey, we will continue to go and explore the new frontier over there in this whole AI agents, making putting them in production and making them work, and do the magic. And at the end of the day, all of these things, they are there to empower people to even go and do bigger things. That's the whole thing, that hey, you know what, let's take care of all of these things which is possible by AI. We can focus on going and solving the much harder problems. So that is what the potential, and Sprouts being part of that ecosystem, definitely very exciting looking ahead as well.
Fantastic. And so recently, the CEO of Zoom made a comment, right? That with AI getting adopted seriously, you could think of a 3 day or a 4 day work week can become a reality, right? So this is my last question. So thinking about this, where AI agents are doing so much of the work for us, how do you see the engineering culture evolve in AI first companies, over the next 5, 10 years, especially if we are going to have this 3 day or 4 day work week, as some people are predicting?
Yeah. So one of thing people, I see that a lot of people somehow, especially in technical role, they start connecting writing code to problem solving. And writing code is not the problem solving part. Problem solving still exists, right? And this is something, it will continue to happen. And right now we are going and solving problem of, oh, how do we go and do the online shopping? And but if these things just work seamlessly and that is not a problem, we'll start solving much bigger problem, right? Like how do we go and colonize Mars and all of those kind of things. And in fact, that is what I'm super excited about. Those are the kind of problem. I want people to start thinking that, look, food is not a problem. House is not a problem. Financial security is not a problem. Those things are taken care of. Now, what problem I want to solve for the greater goods of people and humanity and all of those things. And that's the things I'm looking forward to. I'm more sci-fi kind of person. So um, always more fascinated about those things than building app for online shopping.
Okay. All right. So Neeraj, with advent of AI everywhere, everybody is using AI tools, right? So as part of your engineering culture, what's happening? What kind of AI tools are you using? What's the value that you are seeing, whether it is Cursor or Copilot or Windsurf and different other tools, right? That you're using.
Yeah, so we definitely have plethora of AI tools because that is where we live and breathe. So we have all kind of coding tools, like we have the GitHub Copilot, we have Cursor, and the most important thing to understand over here when you are adopting these tools, one is you still need a strong engineering, uh, where don't take any of these tools generating the code for you. You still want to make sure you review it, they are high quality, but also uh, the pro of tools are also they bring a lot more normalization, standardization in your development process. So it is helping a lot. As I said, in our company, we have all kind of people with all kind of experience. Some are like 10, 15 years experience. Some folks are just getting started. They are fresh college grad as well. So it becomes very a standard tool over there for the coding. We also have a tool to do the patch review. So, before we go and have peer review done by anybody, we have AI, tool that does the patch review, making sure that some things are taken care upfront before. And most of the time, they will definitely surface some of the things that, even human peer reviewer would not have caught that. And as I mentioned before, we have for quality control and QA, we have tools that does the test case generation, test plan generation, also generating the actual test cases, doing the testing and generating the report. All of these things are uh, adding a lot in terms of not just the quality of the product, but also the velocity of the product. And also the engineers at the beginning, they were a little hesitant. It took us some time to convince them, but now the statement is, hey, I cannot think of going and building product without these AI tools. So it has become massive uh, tool to empower engineers to become even a greater engineer, and they start spending a lot more time thinking about the problem and the how to solve those problem rather than debugging your code syntax. So definitely a lot of value over there.
Hmm. Well, there are some people who talk about saying, hey, these AI tools are making engineers lazy and they're not doing good work and stuff like that. How are you ensuring that quality and that critical thinking, first principles thinking is happening within your teams?
Yeah. So we don't still don't skip any of the standard engineering process. Even though we have all these tools, we still want to make sure that we have the design review done, design review and process. We still have the code review. We still have like people reviewing all of your test cases and test plan, all of those things. So just because these tools are there doesn't mean that we are going and skipping any of these steps. So we still continue to follow the best practices of software development,
Hmm.
and that is definitely something helps. And trust me, for most of these when it comes to the architecture and design review, I'm also there, and deeply participating in all kind of discussions and review that is happening. So that definitely keeps everybody on tour when it comes to. And in fact, as I said, as a company and engineering culture, we still have people who are, they have very high pride in the work that they do. Okay, so they want to make sure that themselves are take the self pride in going and churning the high quality code and the product. So
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Right. Hey, Neeraj, thank you so much. Wonderful talking to you. Thanks for sharing your insights and all your experience in building Sprouts AI as well as the engineering culture. So, I wish you the very best and look forward to staying in touch.
thanks, Shrikant. It was my absolute pleasure having this conversation and bringing topic very close to my heart. Thanks for opportunity.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Bye.